Hello! You've joined the Script Mistress again for Scene 11, 12 Character Archetypes. I am your host, Amber Bosworth, and I'm so excited to bring you this episode. I think this can really shed some light on any characters you might be struggling with. Now, if you want to stay up to date on podcast events and challenges, get on my mailing list at www.thescriptmistress.com. I also have this whole episode on video, if you aren't already watching it, at www.thescriptmistress.com/scene 11. Now, for your enjoyment, I also have a free download that I'll discuss at the end of this episode. Now, just a reminder, I read a lot of blogs, articles, and books, and I collect all of it here. This podcast goes over the 12 character archetypes, and I provided a link to the source in the show notes, also on that webpage, if you want to kind of go to that and dig a little bit deeper. And I put a lot of my own advice in here as well. I also want to remind you that all of this is not edited. I just get on here and spill on the weekly topic. Collecting this from the plethora of information gives me great motivation to write. I learn stuff, I share it with you guys, and hopefully you get to learn a lot as well, and it really helps your writing. It's really about what works for you as a writer to keep the keys clacking or the pen scratching, whichever you prefer. Now, it's now the first weekend of December, almost. The holiday season is looming, but that doesn't mean you have to stop writing. The December Ink to Screen Screenwriting Challenge is now open for registration. This challenge will run from December 14th to the 18th. A great time to win some money to recover from any holiday money hangovers. The winner gets $150, and you never know what will inspire your next great idea. This could be the prompt that you write a feature film. You never know. So give it a try. You can check it all out at www.thescriptmistress.com/ink to screen, the number 2. Now, on to the episode. Before we get into each archetype, I figured we could really talk about where do the character archetypes come from. Now, you've written some great character descriptions and great character names, I'm sure, but how do you develop a great character? We place a lot of stock into things like Joseph Campbell and Carl Jung, theorists who broke down humanity and story throughout history. According to Wikipedia, I'm saying that so bad. Sorry. Character archetypes refer to unclear underlying forms or the archetypes as such from which emerge images and motifs such as the mother, the child, the trickster, and the flood, among others. History, culture, and personal context shape these manifest representations, thereby giving them their specific content. Now, try to think of them as the blank forms we imbue with the ideas we have about characters and characterization. Basically, they're broad stroke headings that refer to the kinds of characters in stories or screenplays. I love using these molds. A lot of people do to help me learn about expected outcomes or tropes. But also I like to lean into certain qualities presented to format parts of the story I'm working on telling. I think they are useful tools to help inspire and breathe life into the people on your pages. Now, there are 12 archetypes, Carl's world. Let's go over each of them and learn how these molds can help you format your story and character's journey. I'll go through them really quick, give you some examples, some strengths, and how to better help you. Now, number 1, the warrior. Better with a sword and a speech. The warrior is usually the person with the plan. It's a traditional hero in every sense of the word. They're there to rally the troops, take them into battle, or to rob a casino, or out of Egypt, or cross no man's land to save troops on the other side. Strengths of the warrior. Physical and or mental prowess. Competent, collected, ready for anything. Weaknesses of the warrior. Egotistical, underestimates opponents, can be overconfident. The warrior's motivation. Someone has to save the day. Why not me? So motivation, again, that's something to keep in mind for your character. These are just examples, but a really good example and something to keep in mind when you're writing the warrior or a character like this. So some examples: Captain America, Wonder Woman, Danny Ocean, Shaft. Number 2, the child. Ever think the world has one way and then get a dose of harsh reality? That's the story of the child. They're young, naive, and need to learn the hard way. Strengths of the child: imaginative, trusting, hopeful. Weaknesses: weak in physicality or power, naive to the world, easily taken advantage of. The child's motivation: to learn, obtain happiness, and to find truth. So they're looking for the truth to make things make sense. Some examples: Gordy from Stand By Me, Scout from To Kill a Mockingbird, Alice from Alice in Wonderland. Number 3, the orphan. The orphan has no idea their worth until someone shows up and tells them. They're usually anointed as the savior or protagonist of the story. They live in a normal life until their circumstances thrust them into the spotlight. Strengths of the orphan: they're the chosen one, so they command respect. They're survivors. They have empathy for the commoners. Weaknesses: they're driven by what others think of them. No self-confidence. Too eager to please. The orphan's motivation: they want to be accepted and to connect with other people. They want to be understood. Examples: Harry Potter, Luke Skywalker, Frodo. Number 4, the creator. What's it like to create something from nothing? This character needs to create something palpable or tangible in their world. They'll make any sacrifice necessary to achieve something grander than the world they have now. Strengths of the creator: inexhaustible drive, creative genius, vision. Weaknesses: inability to communicate a vision, alienating perfectionism, work above everyone else. The creator's motivation: the lasting impression of whatever they build, legacy above all else, to the detriment of anybody else. That's something to keep in mind if you have a creator character. Some examples: Willy Wonka, Daniel Plainview, Carl Casper from Chef. Number 5, the caregiver. Selfless acts are rare in real life and even rarer in film and television. The caregiver character archetype lives their entire journey trying to help others at all costs. They care about friends, family, or all of the above more than anything else. You can rely on them. Strengths of the caregiver: big heart, selfless acts, generous. Weaknesses: easily deceived, one-track mind, value others' survival over their own. Their motivation: protect those they love at all costs. They live to serve. Some examples include Samwise Gamgee, Mrs. Weasley, Beverly Goldberg. The mentor. Now, said this before, it's hard to succeed in Hollywood without a mentor. The same goes for archetypes. Mentors are sages, are wise teachers. They can have magic or logic or both. Strengths of the mentor: wisdom about the world, calming presence, great listener. Weaknesses of the mentor: inability to solve their own problems. Predictions can go wrong. Learn from dark mistakes. Their motivation: to teach the next generation to pick up the gauntlet. Some examples: Mr. Miyagi, John Keating from Dead Poets Society, Albus Dumbledore, Mary Poppins. I'm sure you can think of many, many mentors. Number 7, the Joker, and not the Joker from Batman. This is the class clown or the stoner, the person just trying to get by in life and comic relief. They can be a cautionary tale or just there for the laughs. Strengths of the Joker: everyone likes them. They're fun to be around, can have a deep soul. Weaknesses of the Joker: unreliable in times of need, usually in it for themselves, a constant distraction. Motivation: what will make my life easier and what will make me happy? So some examples: Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Timon and Pumbaa, Megan from Bridesmaids. Number 8, the Magician. The search for enlightenment can take some people a lifetime. The difference between this person and the mentor is that the magician has an agenda they want everyone to follow. Strengths of the magician: knowledge, strategy, historical understanding. Weaknesses: hubris, anger if they don't get their way, sometimes warlike. Now their motivation: they want power and organization. They see chaos in the world and know how to solve the puzzle. Examples: Thanos, Sherlock Holmes, Saruman, and Lord of the Rings. Right. Number 9, the ruler. Take me to your leader. This king or queen runs the country or corporation. They're the person you follow and the one who gives the orders. Hopefully, they're good at it. Strengths: power, communication, leadership skills. Weaknesses: control at all costs, paranoia at plots against them. Their motivation: keep the peace and keep order in society by maintaining their power and getting more power. Cersei Lannister, Miranda Priestley from The Devil Wears Prada, King Arthur. All right, number 10, the rebel. Life's not fair, and the rebel is sick of it. They won't settle for the average day, not when they think they deserve more. Rebels like people, but that doesn't mean they're the first choice to lead. Still, people follow someone who wants to shake the world up. Strengths of the rebel: never give up, can inspire the masses, know how to get a lot out of a little. Weaknesses: frequently low on the totem pole, has to earn what they get the hard way. They have no power and no clear way forward. Their motivation: the world sucks, so let's change it. Archetype examples: Katniss Everdeen from The Hunger Games, Ferris Bueller, Phoebe from Friends. Number 11, the lover. Love will keep us together and keep the lover going. They lead with their heart, which they wear on their sleeve. They're selfless, and even though fully devoted to the one they adore, can sometimes neglect their own health and safety. Strengths of the lover: devoted to another, passionate about the object of their affection, open with their feelings. Weaknesses: willing to die for another, can lose their own personality while pleasing another. Their motivation: to give everything they've got to another person, to make any relationship as strong as it can be. Some archetype examples: Romeo and Juliet, Jack and Rose, Jaime Lannister. And finally, number 12, the seducer. Some call them a femme fatale or a homme fatale or for a man. These are beautiful people using their looks and charm to take control of every situation. They're conniving and value only what they want, and nothing will stop them. Strengths: charismatic, beauty, smooth talker. Weaknesses: no morals, controlling, no loyalty. Their motivation: to run the show. They want power and control at all costs. Now these examples: Cleopatra, Tony Stark, Villanelle from Killing Eve, So these are the 12 ones. So I think you might kind of see a theme here where they're not all the protagonists. These are character archetypes. These aren't your protagonists. They aren't all villains. They don't fit into one little thing. They supporting actors, the mentor. And this is something as we move a little bit forward in this podcast, in this series, is that I want to talk a little bit more about how each one can fit into each role and how to really take these archetypes. This is just a beginning. So how you can really take these and kind of blend them together and see how they work together, because they're all connected. So you might think, what about character archetype mashups? You may be like listening to this and thinking that some of these character examples fit into multiple archetypes. And you're totally right. The best characters are developed thinking of multiple personality traits. We are not just one archetype. That would make us boring. The more dimensions you give a character, the more real they'll feel. Also, most characters can start out as one archetype and then morph into others. Captain America begins as Steve Rogers, a puny guy who is the child, given super soldier serum and becomes a warrior. Anakin Skywalker begins Star Wars as a child, but toward the end, he becomes a warrior for the dark side. Look at characters like Villanelle on Killing Eve. She's a seducer, a warrior, and even a child in some ways. As you can see, character archetypes flow naturally into one another. The best storytellers mash different archetypes together and then take you on a journey from your character's traditional classification and allow them to grow into other models on the list. So what are some popular character archetype mashups that you can think of? Can you think of any that you particularly like? Why don't you share to us, comment, or share on the Facebook group? I'll share that later. But another thing too is to remember that you want to try to, if you have any character that is in your script that is speaking, you kind of want to try to have them fit and give them that motivation. It's good just to have that motivation. Like what are they searching for now? What is their motivation at this point? And again, that can change into a different motivation later once they realize they can't achieve that, they are unable to, or they realize they no longer want it, or they achieve it and now they have to go to the next thing. So that's another thing to kind of keep those things in mind, so you know the archetypes and you know the kind of motivations. It's not the end all. This is just a nice thing to kind of look at and help you along as you create these amazing characters in your story. So what's next? Develop your character's arc. Well, I hope you and your understanding of character archetypes has expanded. Now it's time to take a look at our character arc so you combine them for a winning story. So stay tuned. I won't get into that. This is a little short podcast for you today. I'm not going to get into that this week, but stay tuned for next week's episode where I will go over to create a compelling character arc by kind of using some of these archetypes and how you can kind of roll those in. So we're kind of bringing it all together. So I got most of these resources, the 12 character archetypes, from nofilmschool.com. I have the resources in the show notes or on the webpage, and I have it all listed out. All 12 archetypes are going to be listed on the webpage below if you're watching this video, or if you're listening to the podcast, just click on the link to go to the webpage page and you can see all of my notes there, and you can see all the different ones, and you can kind of just print them out or take a shot of it if you'd like. And of course, we always do a writing action. So at the beginning of this, I can't believe this is 11, so it's been 11 weeks. At the very beginning, I created a free character introduction template that I will have on the website page, scene 11. And I want you to fill it out with one of these archetypes that you'd like to write about next. Or if there's something that you think that your character kind of fits in, kind of put down the strengths and the weaknesses and see with this the introduction template where you could kind of introduce it in a different way, keeping these archetypes, and mash them together if you want to, if there's going to be an arc, but try to stick to their introduction. What are they like as they start? Like Luke Skywalker and Steve Rogers, how they started off as the child. Try to think of what archetype that they're going to start off at and maybe, transform into something else. And try one you've never really worked on before. Maybe you have a hard time with the mentor or the seducer. It's one you've never really had before. That's something that you can really play with too. Now, this can really help your ideas flow. Then feel free to share your character introduction on the Facebook page at www.facebook.com/ink2screen, or email me at amber@thescriptmistress.com to get tips. I can kind of go over it with you or get extra help. And again, the December Ink to Screen Screenwriting Challenge is open for registration. This challenge will run from December 14th to the 18th. Plenty of time before Christmas. A great time to win some money, maybe recover a little bit from all the spending. And every writer that submits a script gets an in-depth coverage and feedback right on their script. So get help where you really need it, where you feel you might be struggling. You can check it all out at www.thescriptmistress.com/ink to screen. Now, thank you so much for listening and or watching. I truly value any feedback. If you have an idea for a podcast that might help further down the road, you can email me at amber@thescriptmistress.com. Like and follow this show, please, wherever you are listening. Talk soon. And until then, happy writing.